Hello. Um, this is kind of a weird video, I guess, for me. Um, but the reason I'm recording this video is basically because I'm trying to share things that usually, um, people that know me know about it. Um, but it's not, those are not things I usually talk about with people that don't know me pretty well, and I'm trying to be more open about different subjects and honest with myself and others. And I thought that it might also benefit other people who are in the same situation as I am, or know somebody that is in the same situation that I am. Um, so I'm an addict. It's weird to say it. I'm addicted to clonazepam. Um, it can be called Clonex. It probably has other names. It's a benzodiazepine. I hope I'm saying it correctly. Benzodiazepine, um, which is basically a sort of sedative drug. It's it makes you relax. When you have anxiety, it works really well to ease that anxiety. um, Panic attacks, all of those nice things. So I wanted to share a bit of like how I became addicted to it, um, and how I used to use it. So I've been using Clorox for, I think, almost 20 years. 30. I'm almost 34, and I've been using it at least since I was 16. I think even earlier. Um, and I had like times in my life where it it was very hard, like difficult times, and I did use it a lot and permanently, like not permanently, every day. Like, I used it every day. I apologize. I'm a little confused, and my native tongue is not English. Um, anyway, I used it every day in the past as well, but I can't remember like how I stopped it. Um, I did stop taking it for a while, um, and most years I used it as it's supposed to be used. I didn't use very high dosage. I used about a milligram, maybe a milligram and a half sometimes, but usually a milligram. And I used it when I was nervous. Or, for example, I studied music, and we had a class that every week we needed to write a song and perform it in front of the class. So every time I needed to perform it, I got really nervous, uh, like stage fright. My hands were shaking. Yeah, all of that. So I took Clonix before um, the class, and it worked very well. Um, I was very loose, like I was, even people enjoyed my performance, let's say it like that. And for a lot of a lot, like since I was 20, I think, until I was around 29, I used it for, yeah, for those kind of things, like when I went on dates, for example, and I was a little nervous, so I used it when I went on dates. Before flights, I would use it because I'm a little scared of flying. I'm gonna I'm gonna fly soon, so that scares me as well. Um, and and yeah, I just used it how it's supposed to be used. When I was nervous, and yeah, the small amounts, like compared to what I'm taking now. Um, and around 2019, um, there were two things that happened that really caused me to increase my clonazepam use. The first thing, obviously, is COVID. It stressed me out, and um, the whole world almost was locked in our home, and I was very stressed about it. So my overall stress level um, has increased uh, at that time. And the second thing is my cat that I really, really loved was diagnosed with leukemia. And we needed to take him to the vet for a while, every week or even twice a week. We tried giving him chemo, and it did work for a while, and the side effects for cats are not as bad as for humans. Um, but that really, really stressed me out, and and made me very sad. Um, and another thing was I've been taking SSRIs or some sort of antidepressants for most of my life since I was 10 years old. I know it sounds a little crazy, but yeah, since I was 10 years old, I've been taking all sorts of SSRIs, and I try to stop. Like I try to stop my like taking my antidepressant, and of course there's a withdrawal period, so I needed to do it very slowly for months. I did it very, very, very slowly, and all of these things combined, like it all happened at once. It really made me like like it made me more anxious, but it also really, really made it difficult for me to sleep. And at my job, there was a lot of stress as well. I worked from home, but there was still a lot of stress, although it was much better than working in the office. Um, and I couldn't sleep, so I started taking clonazepam to sleep, and it worked. It's very good for that. Um, and I started taking it first like twice a week, then three times, then four times. Then I needed to increase the dosage a little bit because I got used to it, and I was aware that it's not the best thing to do, um, but I was so like sad and anxious, and I couldn't sleep, and I was exhausted. So I just said, okay, whatever, I'll use it because I need it at the moment, and I didn't want to fight it. I felt like shit. Um, so I did it for a while, Um, and then I stopped taking my antidepressants completely. And in the beginning, it wasn't too bad in the first month or two. Um, but then I decided to make a lot of changes in my life. Too many, too many changes. Uh, After stopping the medication, I quit my job. I didn't have any other job. I was living on my savings and things like that. I moved out of my apartment and into my family's house for like 2 months. Um, and my cat unfortunately died. And all of that combined um, really put me on edge. I didn't have my normal medication. And one day, while I was going to see my therapist, I I was riding in a taxi and I just had a panic attack. And it wasn't the first time. I had a lot of panic attacks in the past, but it was the first time in years that I had a panic attack. And once I had it at that time, it started being something that happened almost on a daily basis. And that made me take more clonazepam. And I tried to not use it every day, but when I didn't use it, I would get a panic attack. So I just started using it every day because my body was exhausted. I was completely exhausted. Having a panic attack or several every day is very scary and mostly exhausting. Um, and So yeah, I used it, and I thought maybe it will pass eventually, but unfortunately it didn't really pass. And after around 5 months and or 6 months, something like that, um, I decided to go back onto the antidepressants because I saw that things are not getting better. My life was like I had it was completely like disorganized. I couldn't. I was depressed, anxious. I had panic attacks, all of that, and basically at that point I lived off Clonex. Like I took it every day, and that's the only thing that helped me. So after I went back on the medication, I had a pretty like a positive period. Um, my panic attacks, my panic attacks stopped. Um, I started like I went back to my old job, which was at that point a good thing. I got a new apartment. Um, I I took my I adopted my first cat alone. I have two, but it was the first one, and things were looking up. And I thought that, you know, after taking the returning like to take the antidepressants, and now that my life was again stable, let's say, and I was working from home, which, as I said, I preferred, and I had my apartment now, and my cat, and all of that. I felt pretty good at that period of my life. That was around February of 2022. So I thought that naturally my anxiety will lower and I will not need to take as much Clonix. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. My anxiety was better, but I felt like the Clonix um, is still something I need. I needed it daily. Um, it made me calmer, and I was more productive that way, and I could like deal with more stressful things and not worry that much about anxiety, and it just felt much better. Um, and I need to mention that I was diagnosed with PTSD, and uh, Clonix is like something that is prescribed for me. Um, so yeah, it's a medication, and people who have PTSD know that most like it's very resistant to therapy, um, and like benzos and Clonix in particular are one of the things that give me the most relief. More than the antidepressants, more than I tried so many different uh, types of therapy, and I mean it worked a little, but nothing gave me a relief as the clonazepam. So I just kept on using it on a daily basis. In August of that year, 2022, one of my cats, I had two by then, got sick from a disease called FIP, which used to be 100% deadly, um, and now it has a medication, it has treatment, and uh, if you have a cat with that, search for FIP warriors. Um, but basically, yeah, he got sick, and I was super scared. And it was like going back to the time where my other cat had leukemia, and it was like, uh, and the treatment is something that the vets can't really help you with. They just diagnose it and give you blood tests or whatever. And I needed to like inject him with that medication in the beginning and then give it orally. And I didn't know if he's gonna survive or not. And obviously, I'm not a vet, it's very difficult to do it. But I had no choice because vets won't do it because the medication is not regulated. Um, Even though it saves lives, it's the only medication that works for that disease. Um, so I got very, very anxious. Uh, and I just I couldn't really deal with it. Told myself I'm gonna just I'm gonna just focus on treating him. I'm putting myself in second place until he's better. And like my priority was him, 100%. And I told everybody in my life, he's my priority now. I like a lot of times I told people, no, I can't meet you, I can't go out because I needed that particular time of day. I needed to give him the medication. I would take him to the vet a lot and to get checked yeah, to check for checkups. And at that point in my life, I started. Uh, I the way I dealt with it was eating a lot. I got fatter, and distracting myself with like a lot of spending of like spending a lot of money. The treatment itself was very very expensive, um, and by taking clonazepam, I increased my dosage. I took more and more and more. After taking, let's say, a milligram and a half every day. During that time, in order for me to deal with all of it and actually like work at the same time and treat him and not just collapse because I felt like I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown or something, I increased my dosage up to 2, 2.5, and even 3 milligrams, um, like at once. Not even, let's say, not even 1.5 in the morning, 1.5 in the evening. No, 3 milligrams, like in uh, one once, all at the same time, and that's a lot. uh, there are people that take more, but for the, let's say, um, people who are not hospitalized usually don't take that much. It's a lot. Um, but it helped me through that period of time, and fortunately, my cat was healed. He was cured from that disease, and the treatment and everything worked. And that's, for me, it was like a miracle. Um, he's still, I mean, he's still healthy, and he's the love of my life. He and his so-called sister. Um, and after he was cured, I also thought, well, okay, now I'll be less anxious, and there will be, I could decrease my clonics and even stop it maybe. But at that point, I already went overboard. I felt like I couldn't sleep without taking large amount of clonics, and I started. I still I started feeling more and more anxious. Even though he was cured, I still was afraid that the disease will return, and I started feeling really shitty at my job. Um, and yeah, and just to make it through the day, and by that point, I felt like I needed those large amounts. I didn't increase it afterwards because I knew it was too much, and increasing it more would not be ideal. But I was already dependent on it, um, and that's what I did for a long time. And things were not great, although I started working out a lot, and yeah, trying to improve things, and it did help a lot. But still, I felt like it's too much. I can't deal with things. I need something to get me high, to drug me. And it did get me high. It did drug me. Um, and things got worse at work, and eventually I quit it. Um, it was not a pleasant experience for many reasons. The work environment was not good. Um, there was a lot of stress. For many reasons, it was a very stressful time at work. I felt like I couldn't, like I felt depressed and super anxious every time I woke up in the morning, and I knew um, that I needed to work, and I felt like I'm again, like I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown. So I quit my job. and again had a better period. I worked out a lot. I started even a course as a personal trainer, um, and things were again looking better. But at that point, I felt like I, I don't know, like my my anxiety was so high that even when things got better, it was still very, very, very high. And I kept on taking the same amount. Um, and for a while, I took that amount, and then I tried decreasing it. Um, and at first, I decreased it to like 2 milligrams, then 1.5, then 1 milligram. Then I tried like, yeah, no, the 1 milligram. I did some experiments with half a milligram, but let's say 1 milligram was um, the lowest I got. And although it did work on occasion, usually it didn't really affect me. And I started feeling, the anxiety again. Like every morning, I felt anxiety, even if I nothing happened. I had no reason, external reason to feel the anxiety, but I felt horrible anxiety. Um, and I felt like every time I needed to go out for something, even with friends, just to have a good time, I needed to use the Clonex, and eventually I started realizing that yeah, I have that basic level of anxiety. That's for sure. Like I've been living with it for my entire life, and sometimes it's better for periods of months, or I don't know, maybe years. Sometimes it gets really, really bad. Um, but these last couple of years, it was really bad since the whole COVID and my cat at 2009, 19, sorry. Um, and I started to feel like, okay, I have that basic anxiety, but there's something else, and there's something called, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, aca- akathisia, something like that, which is restlessness. And a lot of times it can happen for many reasons, but from what I understand, it can also happen when you take benzos. It can happen if you take too much, from my experience, and it can happen when you try to stop. It's basically withdrawal, and it's a horrible feeling. A lot of anxiety. You feel like your whole body is like, it's not shaking, but like my legs are restless, and I'm stepping like you know uh, yeah, I feel like something inside of me just wants to burst out, and I can't stand still, and I can't sit still, and it's so awful. And I realized that it's probably withdrawal. Um, so I at that point I realized that okay, I understood even before, like that I was dependent on Clonex. I understood it. I knew it. I'm not that dumb. I understood the consequences, and I took that. I made that choice. But when I started feeling the withdrawal, it really like sunk in. Okay, I'm an addict. I'm addicted to Chronics. And that's the point I'm in right now. Um, I am about to go for a nice trip, like a vacation, but I feel so anxious because I'm scared of the flights and a lot of those things, and I don't want the fear to like control my life and make me not do things that I really really want to do. But at the same time, I don't want to go through withdrawal while I'm traveling or before, and not really enjoy the time I'm there. So basically, right now I'm in a place where I take less than what I did a few months ago. I didn't take like 3 milligrams in months, maybe half, no, not half a year, but maybe 4 months. Um, and even 2 milligrams, I did take 2 milligrams. I take it sometimes, but not at once. Like I take maybe 1 milligram, 1.5, and then add it after an hour, 2 hours, it depends. So the dosages are lower, but I still feel like I need it. And if I don't take it, I feel like, well, there are days where I can not take it if I lower it little by little. But most of the days I feel like it's too much. It's too much. I can't handle it. And that's the point I'm in right now. Also, the effect of the Clonx is like I have more tolerance to it, even though I didn't take 2 milligrams for a long time. The first 2 or 3 times I really felt it, and then like I felt it, but I it was much weaker than what I felt previously, um, and it lasts uh, like it used to last longer. It lasts like 3 hours, and then I'm completely sober, I guess. Um, so yeah, and I developed, I forgot the word. Sorry, I developed. Uh, I forgot how to say it, but I developed some sort of immunity to to even higher dosages. I get used to it very, very, very quickly, and that's where I am right now. I read about it, and some people say if you take it for long enough, you might be, it might, you can't reverse it. Like, even if you stop taking it, it will never affect you the same way, and you will always be resistant to it. I don't know if that's true. Um, I hope it's not true because it can help. Like if I would take it like I did before, like in special occasions, it really helps. Like it's very good for that, and that's how it's supposed to be used. But right now, I'm an addict, and when I come back from my trip, I'm not sure what I will do because I need to find a new job. I need to like organize a lot of things, and I don't. I like for years I've been dealing with stuff by taking Clonix, and I know I can't do it anymore, but I don't know how to stop. And I'm thinking of going into rehab, but I don't know. I don't know how to do it. Uh, I don't know if I have the money to do it. Um, and I don't know how to solve it right now. And that's where I am. I when I say I'm an addict, I feel like I'm I'm exaggerating or I'm phony or whatever, because I think, like, I always thought of addiction like, okay, like heroin or stuff like that. That's real addiction. You can die from the withdrawal. Um, but in really high dosages, you can die from benzo withdrawal as well. But I don't think in my dosages it's very dangerous. But the thing is, I do experience withdrawal. Even if it's not gonna kill me, it's still very, very hard to stop. So I guess I'm an addict, and I need to understand it, and I need to get help. Mm, and that's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy to admit it. It's not easy to talk about it to whoever is watching. It's not easy even to say those words to people who know me, like, and and love me and are very close to me. I don't feel like they know how to respond to that or how to handle it. And yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen when I come back from that trip. I hope at least I'll have a nice trip and, something positive uh, to take from it. And but I know that when I come back, I need to change things. So that's basically it. I know, a very long story. I talk very slowly, and maybe that's part of. Maybe it's from all the medication I took in my life as well. Um, and I repeat myself a lot, but whatever. Uh, so I guess if you know somebody that's in the same situation, or if you yourself is in the same situation, I hope that maybe you can relate, or maybe you can understand better what you're going through, or what somebody in your life is going through, and understand why you even get to that point. And yeah, I I don't know if this will help anyone, or if it will help me to talk about it. A lot of the times I make videos as sort of um, mechanism to deal with things and not be embarrassed by them, or ashamed by them, or let them control my life, or live, like, to hide them and live in fear of people knowing. And um, so I hope something positive will come out of this video, and if not, okay, uh, that's also fine. Um, so that's it. If anybody is still watching this video, I thank you for your time. And I guess I will maybe update when I come back, and hopefully um, I can beat this addiction, and use this medication as a medication and not as a drug. Um, or maybe not use it at all, although it is good for when it's used properly. And I think I can find a balance, but I'm not sure. So we will see. So thank you, and I hope uh, you're well, and yeah, take care of yourself. Bye.